Hey, thanks for joining me. One of my favorite comic series of all time is Tom Strong, and it's been a minute since I've reviewed an issue of his book. Probably 4 months or so. It's kind of a bummer because, as happens with a couple of my favorite comic book series, like Planetary is another one of those, they don't get a lot of views. And it's kind of unfortunate because I love those books so much. And I will get back to them. But this is kind of a next best thing kind of situation. This is just like a special, like a just a giant sized, oversized special one-off book. I'm always kind of curious as to how they come to the conclusion to put one of these out. Like, how does that come? Who comes up with the idea to do this? Hard to say. But this one is interesting because of the many different artists that are drawing stuff in here. There is quite the collection of fantastic artists. And, when I was collecting these, I was picking up everything Tom Strong. And, of course, I'm going to get this. And when I first read it, I don't know how much I paid attention, but I just kind of assumed Alan Moore wrote it. And he did a plot assist. The writer is Peter Hogan. Now, that name is kind of familiar, but I don't really know who it is. I can't really speak to that, but it's unique in that Alan Moore, there's been a couple instances where he would write a thing and give it a distinctive voice that just feels like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, except I feel like you can tell that this is when Alan Moore is writing a comic book. There's such a, God, how do I put it? There's such a brilliance to it. He knows exactly what he wants, exactly where he's going, and exactly how to get there. And it's interesting, it's clever, it's funny, it's lighthearted. It's never offensively dark or weird, but just Alan Moore his reputation is well earned. And whenever Alan Moore's written something and then someone else takes over, in my personal opinion and my limited experience, it's never the same. The best example I can give for that is on the regular Tom Strong comic. At a certain point, Alan Moore bails on Tom Strong. It probably had to do with Jim Lee selling the studio and to DC, and Alan Moore not wanting to be associated with DC Comics ever again. And then he tried to make it work, and then he couldn't, then he was gone. So they put someone else. And I want to say it was. I wish I could remember the name of the writer who took over Tom Strong after Alan Moore. I think it was a guy that had a Moore for a last name as well, but it wasn't Alan Moore. And instantly, from the first book, the first page, the book was just not the same. And I collected it for like a 6-issue run, something like that, with the new writer. And it still had Chris Sprouse, the artist since the main artist since the beginning of Tom Strong's creation. He was still drawing it, but the book was never the same. It never recovered, and it kind of has vanished. It's gone. So it's really unfortunate, but sometimes the magic can only be manifested by one creative, one artist, one writer, whatever the case may be. But in this case, the book kind of felt like it still fit, even though this Peter Hogan's writing it. Now, it does have plot assist by Alan Moore. So all that aside, a list of the artists: Chris Sprouse and Carl Story. They draw pages 1 through 5, page 43, and then 62 through 64. That is the main team of penciler inker on the main title. You get Michael Golden, pages 6 through 11, Adam Hughes and Carl Story, pages 12 through 17, Phil Noto, Arthur Adams, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Frank Cho, J. Scott Campbell, Claudio Castanelli, and Jason Pearson. What a hell of a group of artists. There's no one in there who's not like brilliant. And I think that's so freaking fantastic. So regardless of even if you like the story, you kind of got to at least appreciate the wide array of artists. So the premise of this one, this surfboard thing, this is Tesla Strong. She's the daughter of Tom Strong, and of course they've got Solomon, the genetically modified ape that speaks with a very proper British accent. We start out in the stronghold in Millennium City. It's quiet. There's an explosion. Like, holy shit, be careful. I told you that bazooka was loaded. And of course, the Solomon, the ape, he's like, well, how was I supposed to know the bally thing was loaded? And so they're like, all right, you silly ape, we got to clean up this mess before mom or dad get back. And so Solomon's like, all right, but just like he says, I have to give it a go with the old ironing board of the governors. And so he jumps on this floating surfboard. He's like, I say, surf's up, you beach bunnies and ho daddies, hang 10, what? And so Tess is like, that's not a toy, Solomon. Dad just got through fixing it. So it's basically like a dimension hopping surfboard, like a machine that can take you through 2 different dimensions. I kind of forget. I'm fairly certain this thing has been introduced in the comic already. But the stupid monkey just wants to play around with it, and while he's fucking around, it teleports him and he's gone. And they're like, oh shit, what now? But then suddenly the portal opens back up. There's a surfboard, no monkey. And so she says the destination log's been wiped clean. There's no way of finding out where he's gone. And so she says, except the hard way. She says, Newman, you stay here and deal with the bazooka damage. I'm going after Solomon. I'll search every world there is if I have to. And Newman, the robot, he's like, that's most inadvisable. And she says, he's practically my brother, Newman. I've got to do something. I'll never forgive myself if anything happened to him. She's like, I'll be careful. If I don't find him in 24 hours, I'll come back. Tell them not to worry. I'm a big girl now. So Tesla, she's the young, youthful daughter of Tom Strong. She's very strong. She's very smart. She's very youthful, but also I want to say that they've established her age as being like 50 or 60. Because of her powers and the whole genetic thing connected with her father, she ages very slow, so they can be around for big swaths of different time frames. But anyway, so you get the basic premise in just like 5 pages. Time traveling, dimension hopping surfboard. Their pet monkey is gone missing, so she has to go searching the multiverse or whatever to find him. And that's where we get different artists to illustrate different versions of the characters we've already met. So now we get into Michael Golden, right? Yeah. So she arrives. This is some kind of weird, horrible future. And so she runs into this weird cyberpunk future version of herself. And in fact, she even remembers her. Her name is Tesla. This new character is Tekla. Again, an alternate version. So they run into each other. They have to help each other. I have to say, every time I see Michael Golden's artwork, I love it, and I've seen so little of it. Just when I was younger and collecting books, I don't know what he was drawing, but I never really got to experience it on a title. And I hear how so many of the Image founders, as I understand it, are a big fan of the type of work that he would do and was a big influence on them. But I just missed out on it. So every time I see some of it, I really appreciate it. I really like it. And I need to find more. But they have their adventures, these weird monsters that are trying to chase them. They have to fight them off. And basically the premise of these things are that every time Tesla Strong travels to another alternate dimension, she runs into some alternate version of herself, and they have either a good time or a bad time or whatever, and have a quick little adventure, and then she goes back through the portal to keep searching for her monkey. So that's what's going on here. So through the portal she goes, and we get into one of my favorite artists of all time, Adam Hughes, and he gets to draw a version where all the characters are like mermaids, part man, part fish. So Tesla exits the portal, she's immediately underwater, and then here's a mermaid version of herself, takes her up to the air so they can breathe, and so they interact, they talk back and forth. What are you doing here? You're from another universe. And so they go down to the city is now underwater, and that's a heck of a spread. Adam Hughes can do it all. I just did a video just recently of a sketchbook of his, and I was just going on and on about how good Adam Hughes is. And I mean, it's not super detailed, but it tells everything that you need to know because it's underwater and the lighting is from down below on the buildings. So it just kind of works perfectly. So they're swimming around, they're talking. Of course, and again, these comics are more about just having fun. And so this kind of an adventure, and they're smiling, and they run into some weird, scary things like a giant killer whale shows up, and so mermaid Tesla smacks it with her little tail and tells it to run away, to go home. I don't have time to play. So it's just a weird alternate world where they're underwater, and then they come up to the surface, and there's this world's version of Tom Strong, and so they just interact for a minute, and they're like, hey, all right, well, the guy you're looking for, he's not here, so good luck on your journeys. Again, I mean, it's this story is inked by Carl Story, and I've seen Adam Hughes's work inked by Carl Story a few times, and I just sometimes I feel like that's the best version of Adam Hughes art that I've seen. And I did talk about in that other video on Adam Hughes how Hughes talks about he doesn't like inking and he doesn't feel like he's very good at it, but I'm like, he's absolutely very good at it. But Carl Story does such good work on him. I just love everything about the drawings in this. It looks great. So anyway, out of the mermaid version of the strong characters, where do we end up? This one is Phil Noto. These are characters or versions of characters that have shown up in the Tom Strong book, but I don't think I've got to them yet, where it's kind of like obviously like a cartoon world. It's played up like a Warner Brothers cartoon thing, where all the characters are like bunnies. The Tom Strong characters are bunnies, and the bad guy is a wolf. It's cute. It fits the aesthetic really well. But of course, you know, the ape that they're looking for, he's not there. So now we cut over. Who's next? That's got to be Arthur Adams. And of course, as always, Arthur Adams is going to draw something really well. So now we catch up with the monkey, with Solomon himself. And wherever he ended up, there is this universe's version of Solomon, but he's like, I think he's French. Yeah, because Solomon, he's like British, and this guy's French. He's like, well, I'll be blowed. It's a frog monkey. Dash it all. Where the deuce am I, saw? And he's like, you're a prisoner. You are a prisoner, my friend. We are all prisoners, yeah. The lettering, the words are even written out to give it the kind of cliche accent. You know, you are a prisoner. We are all prisoners, yeah. And so Solomon's like, you mean I'm sharing this sticky wicket? Again, Alan Moore knows terminology I've never heard before. He says, you mean I'm sharing this sticky wicket? Who with, might I inquire? And he's like, look behind you, monsieur. And so now there's just a whole collection of apes from different alternate universes. So, yeah, he's like, upon my soul, there's more than a barrel full of us. So they're all being captured for some reason. So the next one after Arthur Adams is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. This is a guy whose work I do not know almost anything about. I just know that the name, as I understand it, is pretty well revered. Clearly a fantastic artist. But again, Tesla runs into another alternate version of the characters, and they interact, and there's lots of humor going on. It's really well done. They run into some giant robotic monster they have to fight. I wonder if the artist made any kind of requests, or if they just handed out the script and said, here, you get to draw the scene with the giant robotic monster stomping through the city. And he gets a significant chunk of pages. I mean, 23 through 29. So all good stuff. They defeat the monster robot, and then back into the portal. We end up with Frank Cho, who's always good at drawing the hot ladies. And so again, here's another version. They're like jungle Amazonian babes. I'll look at this all day from Frank Cho. The girl shows up, interrupts some kind of evil villainous trapping this universe's version of Tesla. Geez, Frank Cho. He's getting borderline naughty right there. Which, you know, Yahoo. They free her, and so now again, like Tarzan, jungle Amazonian version of Tesla, they're out in the forest. They run out. Of course, there's a giant kitty that's very friendly. But yeah, your monkey's not here. We're missing our monkey too. So all these versions are missing their monkeys. So Tesla's got to take off into the universe, and now we get into a J. Scott Campbell page. Now, I've said often, many times, frustratingly, that J. Scott Campbell, God damn it, he's so good and he never draws any fucking comics. And so here is him doing 2 pages. Now, this is, I forget when this was printed. This is 2003. So, you know, this has been quite a while ago. But this is amongst some of the last sequential pages I think he's ever drawn. But in this universe, all the Tesla strong, you know, this universe's versions of them are all human looking, but the gag is that these characters don't wear clothes, and I mean ever, anywhere. So when she comes into the universe here, pops in, there's Tesla, and she's undressed. And so, of course, our version of it, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I guess I picked a bad time to drop in. And so this version, she's like, oh, you look just like me. You're from another world, right? I'm Tamla. And so Tamla, she says, wait till Dad gets a load of you. I'll go get him. And so Tesla says, you might want to put a towel on or something first, or if you've forgotten that you're naked. And so this universe's girl, she says, of course I'm naked. Why aren't you? So then suddenly there is Tom Strong and his wife. He's like, I thought I detected a warp gate opening. I'm guessing this girl is another version of you, Tammy. And Tammy's like, well done. So again, the gag is, especially with J. Scott Campbell, is every character just runs around without clothes on. And it's kind of really weird, but funny. And so the Tom Strong, this version, he says, obviously she's some let me start over. Obviously, she's from some parallel world where human sexuality has been deeply warped. They must have resorted to wearing fantasy costumes like this one in order to stimulate their jaded appetites. So his wife says, like, poor thing. She says, well, you're among friends now, dear. Just feel free to just strip off and relax. So Tesla says, oh, well, actually, I'm good like this. I mean, I'd really rather not. And so they all start tackling her, not tackling her, that implies something kind of negative, but they start going like, no, we'll just help you. You just need to be around friends. They're like, you'll stay for some tea, won't you? Some of Tammy's boyfriends will be dropping by later to join us in the hot tub. We can always make room for one more. And she's like, oh, thanks, but I have somewhere I need to be urgently. Like they're starting to like undress her and imply a hot tub orgy. Ridiculous and funny. And so they're like, well, too bad that you have to go, but you'll come back someday, won't you? And she's like, sure. So Tesla's taken off. She's saying that was way too weird. And I forgot to even ask about Solomon. Whatever comes next can't be worse. What I do appreciate, and I'm actually kind of surprised at, if you look at it, if you see the way that Chris Sprouse draws Tom Strong. Let me find, like right there. This is what Tom Strong has always looked like. You know, it's kind of like a Superman looking guy. Big, strong, basically Caucasian dude. But Campbell is drawing him like the coloring's got a darker skin tone. And almost like he's at least of mixed ethnicity. And I can't remember if it's been established in the comics at this point yet. But I think the implication is if you remember, if you've seen the first issue, the whole premise is that Tom Strong, before he was born, his mother and his father were on a boat going to the secret island. And Tom Strong's father is some brilliant scientist from, I don't know, the early 1800s or something like that. And he wanted to do some experiments on how to raise a kid in a specific controlled environment to make peak human performance, blah, 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 blah. His father was only concerned about his science and not so much the human being that is his son. And the wife, Tom Strong's mother, felt very emotionally separated from her husband. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I think it was revealed later that the actual father of Tom is one of the island natives that live on the island that were like they were black. They were not Caucasian. And so it looks like J. Scott Campbell is drawing to kind of imply that kind of mixed ethnicity character, unless it's just this version, this universe's version could be that way. I'm actually kind of curious now. I'm not really sure. I can't remember for sure if the alternate father thing is true, or that was like another alternate version of Tom Strong. Anyway, I can't remember exactly. All that aside, I had no need to go on that random tangent, but I got 2 pages of J. Scott Campbell drawing a bunch of superheroic men and women running around naked. I'll take it. Campbell is so good with all his details on everything, his cartoony gestures and expressions. It's crazy, it's ridiculous, it's fun. On to the next one after Campbell, Claudio Castanelli. That is an artist whose name I recognize, but I don't know what they've done before. I have no kind of understanding of who they are. Fantastic art, great techno backgrounds, the cityscapes, some giant version of her, pretty epic stuff. And then you get this, this is like a computer program, Aztec god, hard to explain. It was in like issue 2 or 3 of the regular series, and this computer program Aztec snake god was actually really interesting. It was a really cool character. I really liked it. And he's actually kind of helpful because Tom Strong freed him, and so he's kind of loyal to Tesla, and he helps her out. Sends her on her way. Anyway, now we get into some Jason Pearson, and he gets to draw several pages, and Jason Pearson's art is pretty unmistakable. She shows up into some world. It's gas. She gets gassed and knocked out, and there's like an evil version of the Strong family. And they even say, he's like, the plan was to destroy my counterparts, starting with Tom Strong. Instead, all you've succeeded in trapping is several dozen monkeys and Strong's whelp. So these guys are probably the ones that have captured the monkeys. They are the ones that started this whole thing. Story aside, awesome Jason Pearson art, hyper-exaggerated cartoony figures. I love it. The great-looking ape. Hell, the alternate evil version of Tesla here is kind of getting a little naughty with Tesla there. And that's 2 pages. Then we cut back to the Prime Universe world. There's Tom Strong. They're like, holy shit, what happened? Where's our daughter? And they get an explanation of what happened. So Tom's like, all right, I got to go save her. Back with Jason Pearson. Tesla's strung up. Great shot here. Overhead shot. All the cool detail of like a torture dungeon. And they just interact. This evil version of the Strong family. Just being evil. Threatening to torture. And then, because this is like a parallel universe, Paul Savine, who was a villain in the Tom Strong universe, well, now he's Peter Savine, and he is a science hero. He's a good guy. I like it. You know, just taking all the kind of basic tropes of the story that we know and just reversing it. More great, odd, cartoony artwork from the late Jason Pearson. It just all looks fantastic. They go on their adventures. Former bad guys in the regular universe are now good guys, including this woman and this kid, which we were introduced in the earliest issues of the comic. And they're just trying to get away. They have to find Tesla's time-hopping surfboard. They got to get her out of there. So you kind of get the premise of the adventure. They have to escape the evil Tom Strong family. And Jason Pearson gets to draw several pages. He gets a big, giant chunk of a story. I kind of wish every artist got this many pages. I wish Campbell sure did. But we'll take Tom Strong, but I'll take Jason Pearson's work anytime. But eventually, yeah, Tesla ends up back in her own universe, and she has to explain herself to her dad. It's like, what the hell is going on? Why are you screwing around with the multiverse? So now they have to set everything right. They have to get all the trapped monkeys back to their own universe. I like this giant shot of the evil Tom Strong family fighting all these versions of the monkeys. That's a really good drawing. Like, look at the proportions that Jason Pearson puts. Like these giant, thick upper body and arms, little tiny hands. It looks great. It's cartoony and it's silly. He was so good. It's just such a shame he's not around anymore. It's really unfortunate. And then there's a giant Aztec god ape version. Yeah, awesome. Stomps down on evil Tom Strong, smashes him into the ground. Now the girls have to fight. And then the Aztec computer god program shows up. And he helps them out. Like, they resolve everything. We're going to get everything back to normal, back to the regular universe. And so Tom Strong and the daughter are kind of just like, holy crap, what a crazy adventure we had. You know, wild adventures. So yeah, 2003, quite a while ago. A fun little adventure utilizing some of the best artists you could ever possibly hope to find. Good stuff. The Tom Strong stuff, when Alan Moore was guiding it and writing it, even though he only did plot assist in this, they were all just so fantastic. I can't recommend them enough. There's such a wide array of story types. Like, there is kind of like a vague through line of the entire series, but they're all almost essentially self-contained stories in every book. And if you know comics history and old-timey, old-school books and stories, which is what Alan Moore seems to be really leaning into with the Tom Strong series, he was not looking to, you know, do comics with that were of the time, of the era. He was doing kind of modern day versions of the really good old stuff, and therefore making it new again and better than anything anyone else was doing. It was just spectacular stuff all around from a writing perspective, and everyone who got to work as an artist with Alan Moore on the Tom Strong series just put forth the best efforts that they could ever possibly do, and it was just a fantastic series. Can't recommend it enough, so go pick it up. But anyway, The Many Worlds of Tesla Strong, fun times, great art. And I recommend it. Go pick it up. That's all I've got for now. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.